Yes, good morning, everyone. And I welcome you to a very special session we have today. Um, the ISKCON GBC Strategic Planning Team COVID-19 interview series. That's a mouthful. My name is Ekavira. I am based in Gitanagari in the United States in Pennsylvania. I'm a member of the International Devotee CARE Committee, the Grihastha Vision Team, and also the Karuna CARE Educational Program. So our topic today is grieving in isolation. And we have three panelists. They are members of the Vaishnavas CARE organization, which is a very special organization. And we welcome you this morning to our session, Vaishnavas CARE Group. Haribo.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes. And so let's introduce the three of you. First, we'll start with Sangita Devi Dasi. So Sangita Devi Dasi, she is a registered nurse and also a certified hospice palliative care nurse. This organization is actually her brainchild. She started this organization in the year 2000 with the late Jusaniya Devi Dasi, and they're both disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Vaisnavas CARE, C-A-R-E, the acronym CARE means counseling, assistance, resource, and education for the terminally ill and their caregivers. And this was founded through His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and also to the worldwide community of devotees of Krishna. Sangita has taught many devotees throughout the world in the training of certified hospice care givers. So welcome, Sangita Devi Dasi. Yes, I must say that I was a student of Sangita and still am a student of Sangita. So it's really an honor to be here with you today. Next, we have Janaki Devi Dasi. Now, Janaki, Hare Krishna. Janaki joined the St. Louis Temple in 1981. She's been engaged in many services over the years, including book distribution, teaching Sunday school team member, and a board member of the North American Child Protection Office. She has a master's in social work and is a licensed clinical social worker and clinical addiction specialist. She specializes in trauma work. She is also a certified instructor for the right use of power. Oh, good morning, Janaki. Thank you for being here. Hare Krishna. And last but not least, we have Kamala Radha Dasi. Now, she's a team member of the Vaishnava CARE group, as we mentioned. She has assisted Sangita in training seminars. She is also an end-of-life doula and has assisted devotees formulating their final wishes and even bringing devotee remains to their final resting places in the Holy Dham. It's a wonderful service. She serves currently in social media marketing for Vaishnavas CARE and co-facilitating online grief support. Outside of her service with Vaishnavas CARE, she is also a meditation instructor and currently pursuing a career in pastoral care and interfaith chaplaincy. So welcome each and every one of you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes. So we're going to jump right into this. This is a very relevant topic, especially during this period of time. But first, we want to get a little brief history about Vaishnavas CARE. So Sangita, will begin with you. Please share with us a brief history and then what inspired you to start this service.
Unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself, please.
Okay. Sorry, I don't like technology. Okay, so so I had this idea to start Vaishnavas CARE in 1999 when I took care of my mother-in-law who was dying that year. I was her primary caregiver. And one day, I remember it like it was yesterday, I just had this realization that we need to have an organized end-of-life program in ISKCON. And I needed to write a book about it for the caregivers mostly. And then through Krishna's design, I went to Vrindavan. I met with Advaita Chandra Prabhu, who owns Torchlight Publishing. He said to me, asked me a couple of questions because the taxi was waiting at the gate to take me back to Delhi airport. And he said, you write the book and I'll publish it. So that was the first edition of The Final Journey. And then that sold out, and we did an updated version of it a few years back, and now we have the second edition. And Vaishnavas CARE came about because now what do we do with the book? So simultaneously, I went to the GBC in 2000 in Mayapur at their meetings, and we got a 5-minute slot, which turned into a 20-minute presentation made by
Wow.
Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, who is he's an advanced practice nurse with his master's degree now, and he lives out in ISV and is the head of the kitchen. He's an amazing cook. And he was Pujari for many years, but he's a wonderful nurse. So he got up in front of the very intimidating room in Mayapur. I don't know if you've ever been to that room, but it's like, So he stood up and he made this wonderful presentation and said that we were interested in starting Vaishnavas CARE, and many of them didn't even know the word hospice. It was amazing. And that at this point in 2000, there weren't a lot of devotees leaving, but we were going to inevitably have that, So what are we going to do about it? And we talked about building a hospice in the Dham in Vrindavan. And what came out of that meeting was we got a lot of blessings, and that was nice, but that, they're dealing with a lot of things on their plate, and this was going to have to be a grassroots effort. And so it became a grassroots effort that I went around and started giving seminars to different communities and temples, and it doesn't cost a penny, a rupee, to start a team of trained volunteers to take care of the babies in their congregation. So that's how we started
Wow.
in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
And so that's been over 20 years since the inception of Vaishnavas CARE.
Yes.
Yes. And over the 20 years, you've grown so much from what I understand. And you started out training people in hospice care and providing care for terminally ill patients, as we mentioned in the introduction. What are some of the services that you offer now, 20 years later?
20 years later, well, we've changed from focusing only on end-of-life care for the devotees. And many, many, many years ago, we came to the understanding that in order to keep the teams of devotees enlivened, we can't just wait, because some communities, they're very young devotees, and chances are there's going to be a lot years and years and years in between a devotee preparing for end of life. So then we thought, there's, with the building of the Bhaktivedanta Hospice that I did with Giriraj Swami in Vrindavan, we started to understand. I understood that, a lot of devotees that are leaving are older. Some were younger, of course. There's no so you can be at the head of the line because you think you are, and you think, well, because I'm 65, I'm at the front of the line, but actually a 20-year-old could get into an accident or get cancer. We're seeing all different age groups, there's no saying, because you're in your 60s, you're going to go before a 20-year-old. But so we just saw this need in our movement that we need care for chronically ill devotees. We need care when they're in an accident and they go to the hospital and they have to have surgery. There's so many situations that come up. So we actually provide support for the devotees that are acutely ill, even if it's flu season and half your congregation is out, with the flu. We can make big vats of soup and bring them over containers of nice hot broth and like that. So it's for acute care, chronic illnesses, hospitalizations, when they're having surgery, so many reasons. And it's not just about hospice anymore.
Okay, that's wonderful.
That's our emphasis, of course, but we do other things. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
And we've also expanded into grief counseling, which the other ladies will explain.
Okay, and I understand there's an online grief support group that you all have formalized, and maybe you could share about that later on, and we'll post that information on the site so our viewers can have access to that. So the next question, I'm going to Janaki. So Janaki, our topic is grief and isolation. So what are some of the unique challenges during COVID-19 that makes it difficult to process grief?
Well, grief is something that we process more with each other and that we do in community. And so with COVID-19, with being so much restriction on being physically present with each other, that complicates our ability to share with each other and sharing spending time with each other, spending time sharing prasadam with each other, spending time talking about people who have left, things of that nature. And so with COVID-19, it's restricted our ability to do that. So devotees have been very creative, and so there's been a lot of memorial services taking place online, kirtans taking place online. For one person that was leaving their body, people were posting kirtans to this person that they cared about, so that they could be played for that person, because people couldn't go visit that person at the time that they were preparing to leave their body. So this is fortunate that we can take advantage of all this opportunity to utilize the online services. And we did a couple of talks recently through Vaishnavas CARE on this, and at our last session we also did a little memorial service where we had a candle lighting and people could share the names of their loved ones that they wanted to honor and respect that time.
Okay, you mentioned that memorial services. What is, we have a general idea of the significance, but can you elaborate more on the significance of something like the ceremony, memorial ceremony?
Well, having ritual is like the best ways to process grief. Being able to do something external allows us to process it more deeply, which is one of the things that's being restricted right now. So, and that can look like different things. Kamala, Radha, Devi Dasi can share about like legacy projects, and also like doing things like planting a tree. I've been at so many times when just planting of a tree really shifts the trauma, especially for our community, when a whole community has that. So one of the ideas that we would like to propose and see when this time period passes, and as we've noticed, it's not only people leaving because of COVID-19, but people leaving through because of other things and not having it. So a nice project for any temple would be to start a memorial garden that could honor and recognize all the loss that we've had over this time period. it's like, especially when we plant trees that are flower-bearing trees or fruit-bearing trees, then it's like it's a gift that continues to go on for generations, and people can go there and pray and meditate and chant in those gardens and find some connection to the ones that they've lost.
Okay. All right. And I guess throughout the world, how has the COVID-19 crisis affected the devotees in your congregation's ability to do these types of ceremonies? And then what do you recommend that they do and if they can't get together and perform these ceremonies?
It's definitely it's prevented to safely get together. It shows that every time that people don't acknowledge that and do get together, that almost increases the spread of COVID-19, which then increases the stress of the Vaishnavas, because now more have left. I have seen communities do their memorial services online. The New Jersey Temple has done that. They had someone and they did it. They did it online with just a few people present, and then like if they're doing a ceremony, having the cameras like we saw with Bhaktivedanta Mirage, where it was video, it was live streamed so that devotees from all over the world could participate in it through that, with the intention that hopefully at the year anniversary that they can come in person and show their respects.
Okay. All right. Very good. Sangita.
Sorry, I'm mute. In Philadelphia Temple, we were legally allowed to have 25 people come to Bhaktivedanta Swami's memorial service. So it was by invitation only. Of course, his disciples and then the senior devotees. And then we had it on our live on our YouTube channel. And any of the disciples or anyone that wanted to offer a homage to Maharaj could do it on Zoom. And that's worked out well, actually, to have it like that. But I would like to do the candlelight vigil in Kartik time, and then hopefully we can have more people join in, and because we can have it outside. So I think we can have 40 people if we did it outside. So it's a really good thing to have for your community as a healing ritual, individually and collectively, to have everybody do that candlelight vigil. So thank you for mentioning that. I just wanted to say, yeah, it worked. It worked.
And what she's talking about, the candlelight vigil, it's a very simple but elegant process where you start with one candle, and you can get them online where they have a little cardboard protector for the hand and a little candle, and the first person starts with lighting it and names the person they want to honor and lights the next person's candle, and then that person names the person that they want to honor, and they continue to light as you go around the whole circle. And we've done it before in the community at New Galoka in Hillsborough, North Carolina, and for several years in a row. And it was very powerful and healing, and the children participated. And so it was all generations could take advantage of that ceremony as well.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let's see. Let's ask Kamala Radha Devi Dasi a question here. As we mentioned in your introduction, you are engaged in pastoral care, and we know that there are challenges that individuals go through during this crisis period, but are there challenges that a pastor goes through? Give us some personal reflections that you've experienced during this COVID crisis.
Hare Krishna. I do want to just say that I'm not a pastor. It's something that I'm studying. Yes. I'm really a weaker student. But I would just say currently with what I'm doing and helping people is that my phone is never off right now. There's just so many people out there that are grieving, and not just from death. Collectively, many people are grieving just a sense of normalcy right now, and it's hard to make sense of anything right now. And so as to my particular service, it's very busy time. So much support is needed for the devotees right now. People are losing loved ones. We lost a great Vaishnava in our community and movement with the loss of Bhakti True Maharaj. And this grief can be complicated. And some of the things that we as Vaishnavas, we at Vaisnava CARE have discussed is how hard this must be to explain to children right now, and people that had a relationship with Maharaj, and what to speak of those who were aspiring for Maharaj. And this grief is complicated. And so right now we're just trying to be here for as many people as we can.
Okay. So this is.
Can I add,
please, Sangita? Yes.
The thing is about with the children, I say in my seminars, don't forget the children, because they're the quiet grievers. They're the ones that are going to get caught up in being forgotten about sometimes. Often they get forgotten about. And, I personally experienced that when I was a child, when I lost a grandparent, and nobody explained anything to me. I was so confused. I didn't know what was happening. So, children, it's in my book, a little bit about it, of what, ages, infant to 2 years old, how they process death. They don't process it, but how they think of it, of course, a 2-year-old is going to think they're going to come back. Grandma's coming back. She just left, and then she always comes back. So that's how they think about dying. So you have to speak to a child on their age level. You have to know how that age group where that child fits in understands death. And then you can talk to your child about it, and they should be spoken to about it. And there's I've added to the seminar workbook for the students a list of children's books, and you can get them all on Amazon.com. And there are some exceptional children's picture books that explain death to children. And I do recommend those in the workbook. But if anybody's interested, I can email them and give them some really good ones that are helpful to children. Yeah.
Okay.
And, I want to write some for our Krishna conscious devotee children, if I could ever get the time. I have it on the back burner that's what I'd like to do. And Prabhupada actually instructed me in Hawaii to write books for children. So I just have it in my mind to always write one, because we don't have anything like that, so. Yeah. So right now there's probably 100 people going, write a book for children about that. But anyway, if they would want to, there's always a need. We really do need it. And we need it in a very delicate child development type mentality. Yeah. You can't just throw our philosophy at them. They weren't their bodies anyway, kid, Can't do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Janaki, while we're on this topic, would you like to share some reflections that you have during this COVID-19 crisis?
I think what Kamala was saying was that it's not just about the loss of a person, but it's about a loss of so many other things. And so somebody is already has anxiety or has other challenges with depression or things like that, then that's coming up more to the surface. And so those things need to be addressed as well to support devotees, because it's a difficult time for a lot of people, and a lot of people have to reevaluate careers, they have to reevaluate family structures, so many things. So it's a challenging time, and so it's really important for our devotees to acknowledge when they're struggling and to reach out and get help from someone.
Okay. Yes, it's very important. Knowing our our resources and reaching out to those persons.
And right now, there's so many losses going on with COVID. I mean, not just to death, but loss of job, loss of home. You know, so many of these losses, and so our grief support group can also try to be there for those devotees as well. It's not just devotees that have had a loss through a death. You know,
Yeah.
I want to explain that loss comes in many forms, loss and grief. You know, if you've been laid off because of the pandemic, and you know you're actually being forced to move or whatever, you're having trouble paying the rent or the mortgage. I mean, this is anxiety, this is stress, this is, you know, this is a reason to think, you know, I'm really having all these losses right now and I'm experiencing it on many, many levels, and maybe I should talk it out. So come to our Facebook page on Vaishnavas CARE and check out the private closed grief support group, because they may be able to help you, you know, with the losses, and don't feel, oh no, this is nothing, I didn't, you know, nobody died in my family, but loss is still loss, you know, and we're there to support the devotees. So yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, because being in the male body, sometimes there's the thought that we may not go through grief. You know, there's a thought that I don't have time to grieve.
Right.
You know?
Grief
So,
the thing about grief is that, you know, we might push it down, you know, and then it just, you know, we stuff it a lot, you know, and I'm not just talking about the loss of a person dying that's close to you, but a lot of grief, a lot of loss, we just stuff it, you know. Oh, well, we're not these bodies anyway, Prabhu, you know, whatever you want to, whatever cliche you want to throw at yourself, you know, just to get by whatever it is that you're grieving over or any loss that you're experiencing. And then, you know, you just sort of move on, especially as devotees, we tend to do that. And then the next loss that comes along in life, you just stuff it because that's how you deal with it, you know. And then eventually what happens, you run out of room. You know, you've stuffed so much in your life that you're filled up. And what do you do with all that? You know, what do you do with that pain? What do you do with that loss and that grief? Eventually you have to work through the grief to get through it, you know, to get to the end. And they don't call it grief work for nothing. It's work.
yes. As a matter of fact, we want to ask Kamala Radha that particular point. How do we actually help people to move through the grieving process from being in isolation?
Yeah, well, I would think just as a as a you know, a regular person, as a friend of someone who is grieving. I know Janaki is a big proponent of this. Is really, it may feel like you're not doing anything, but it's really called holding space. It's actually just being present. And I think as devotees, as yogis, that we have this as our practice, but we think, oh, we need to do more. We need to fix things. But really, it's very important that you just let people grieve. You don't try to push them in any sort of direction. You don't have to really do anything than just be present. And I know specifically of a story of a woman in our community that had gone through a loss, and months later when she felt better, she talked to me about it, and she had said, you know, the most beneficial person for me in that situation was so and so, because all she did was come over and sit on the couch with me and held me while I cried. She didn't clean my house. She didn't make me food. She didn't fold my laundry. She didn't offer unsolicited advice. All she did is just, she let her be with her grief. And that is really the most beneficial thing that we can do. That, learning how to hold space for people, learning how to actively listen, which is when someone is talking to you, instead of thinking about what you want to say, but just listening and telling people that must be so hard for you, that's when they will have the reaction of, it is. Thank you for acknowledging that. And this is a very important it's an important part. I think people think they have to do things, but offering someone some unsolicited advice at this point would not be beneficial. You just have to let them be. And I think it's very important, and Sangita and Janaki will back me up on this, that grief doesn't actually have a timeline, and no two people grieve in the same way. And so you have to just let people be with their feelings and be there in support with them.
Okay. Actually, I'd like to ask Janaki to elaborate. Maybe you have some other helpful ways to support someone having a difficult time grieving.
Well, a couple of things you guys have touched on, all of you in speaking, is that people grieve in different ways. And we, even individuals, go through different phases of grieving. Sometimes it looks like anger. Sometimes it looks like denial. Sometimes it's bargaining. But whatever stage somebody's in, whatever they're experiencing, for those that want to be supportive, is to be non-judgmental, to not try to correct them, or to think that they should be behaving in a certain way. This doesn't allow them to experience that process on their own. That they will come to, at the end of the day, they will come to a point where they can process it and be in a different space. But if somebody needs at that moment in time just to express their anger around the situation, then allowing them to have that opportunity without judgment can be very beneficial for them.
Okay.
And we all look different in how we grieve. Everybody's different.
Okay. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
No.
No. Everyone's unique.
So having that space of compassion, that space of in your heart, just allowing them to be whoever they need to be in that moment, and giving them the freedom and the space to express that, and then they'll move on, and then they'll be able to go. But if you try to lock down and force people to look a certain way as they're grieving, then it's not possible to go through it. That prevents a person from being able to process their grief.
Okay. Sangita, would you like to add anything?
No, I think they covered a lot. I think it's just very important that we don't, we have a judgment-free zone when we're talking with somebody who's grieving any kind of loss, whether it's through a death or the loss of a relationship or a friendship, or the loss of an employment, or any kind of loss that anybody goes through in this world. Just to hear them. And we don't know what it would be like if we were in their shoes. We don't. So for us to say, but you're such a senior devotee, how could you possibly be? I can't believe that he's feeling this way. No, because we don't know. We don't know. So we have to be very compassionate.
Okay. Compassion is very important, the key. I'm hearing that underlying theme in each and every one of you speaking. Yeah. I think Kamala, Radha, you want to add something here.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on something. We were just talking about this in the online grief support just yesterday, that I think is a very important subject that people should know, is that there is something called anticipatory grief, which is maybe new to some people that may be watching this today, which is you might be feeling grief even before a loss. And I think this is a very important thing to talk about, especially in the global pandemic that we are going through. So as we were just saying, grief can come from many different things, such as a loss of a job or having to move and maybe losing your apartment. But you might be feeling grief even if those things haven't happened to you, because you are afraid that they may happen to you. You may be feeling that your job could be terminated at any point, or you don't know how you're going to be paying your bills next month. And this anxiety is also grief, and it's anticipatory. But that also doesn't mean that you won't feel this if the loss happens too. It's not like I'm doing it now, so I won't do it then. It's just you may feel it before the act actually happens. So I just wanted to mention that.
Right. And if I may, it doesn't just happen to the patient who's preparing to leave. It happens to the family and the close friends who are like family. Okay, because their anticipatory grief begins when the patient realizes, oh my God, I'm so sick, and now they're saying I'm going to die in so many months or whatever. Okay, they start to panic and they imagine all kinds of things. So they're grieving for what may happen. What may happen. They know they're going to die, but they're thinking of maybe the worst case scenario. And then the family, anticipatory grief begins when the family realizes that their loved one will be gone sooner than expected.
Okay.
So you'll find that with everybody that's in the house, practically. They may not go through it all at the same time, but they may go through it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing's for sure, but they each may go through their own time about this.
Okay. You each elaborated on some helpful ways to actually support someone going through the grieving process. And Janaki, please share with us some ways that may not be so helpful. Mm-hmm.
I think we touched on that a little bit, like not being judgmental.
Yeah.
It's like we all take comfort in the scriptures. We read them all the time, but using it as a way to shut someone down to try to fix them is not a helpful process. Quoting verses that are intended to give them relief, but really it's more to make you feel better because you're having difficulty at that stage they're in. So being mindful of that, not using the philosophy to ease your own comfort, but to be present with them. So the main thing, not the leaving the judgment behind, because anytime you come in with that, it's going to create difficulties and problems. Trying to fix them. Platitudes usually don't really help. They're in a better place now. They're, this or whatever. It's, just like, I really acknowledge this is really difficult, and I'm here for you, and I'm here to be present with you. So those are there. I'm sure we've all heard. For those who have already gone through this experience, they all have personal things on what's not been helpful, and please listen to them. It's like, if someone is, at different stages of, like, even leaving their body, not to offer medical solutions for something when they've already, they're already went to Vrindavan and have come to the resolution that this is what they need to focus on and what they need to do. It's like, don't come in with medical advice. It's kind of let them have their support for what they need in the journey that they're on and where they're at that time.
Yes. Okay, so being non-judgmental, don't try to fix the situation, basically giving presence to someone, not taking.
Don't give alternative remedies when they've got 10 days to live. Not a good idea.
Oh, you mean I can't?
Happen with devotee patients, yeah. They're like about to leave, and somebody walks in with a wad of papers this thick of here, if you drink cow urine, you'll get better. Don't confuse devotees. It's not fair to agitate their minds at the very end of life. Not a good idea. I mean, it's not a good idea all through life to do that, but definitely at the end of life. I always say, don't agitate a pregnant woman or a dying person.
Okay.
It can't be good karma.
All right. It can be good. And Sangita, you had so much experience in dealing with devotees throughout your service to Srila Prabhupada. How many devotees would you say you've actually served?
You know, I get that, and I don't know. I can't even trace it back because I haven't always been right there at the time of their death, but I helped them all along, even from afar. You know, so I don't even know. I hate to say it, but I don't. I used to journal about each one, and then I stopped doing that because I got so busy I didn't have time. You know.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
It's okay. It just made me think about a question. I know you served so many devotees. Of course, you don't know how many at this point in time, leaders and family members of devotees, without breaking any confidentiality. What are some of the regrets that devotees may express at the end of their life, and some of the fears that they may reveal about the death and dying experience?
Of course, one fear that most terminally ill patients have, including devotees, is fear of pain. Fear of pain.
Fear of pain.
So I explained to them that, you know, hospice tries to hire nurses that are certified in pain and, you know, symptom management. That would be a CHPN, or beyond that, you know, they have different certifications. So somebody that's been well trained have taken, you know, they've taken their boards in hospice and palliative nursing, and that will do the best we can to keep them as comfortable as possible given their disease. You can't promise, in all reality, to make them 100% pain-free. That probably won't happen. But we can take their pain level to a point where it's acceptable for them. And that's why we use the pain scale, 0 to 10, or the smiley faces, depending on what their level of consciousness is. And what was the other part?
Yes, the regrets. Any regrets?
Yeah, a big one, and I talk about this in the seminar, is devotees really, really, really regret having wasted time because they cannot get that time back now. And why did I waste so much time? Why did I watch that movie for an hour and a half? I can't get that hour and a half back now when I need it so much. And Prabhupada, I tell this story that when I was a teenager living in the Los Angeles temple, Prabhupada gave a Bhagavatam class and said, time is so precious that if I had $1 million and I wanted to buy one moment's time, who would I buy it from? That's how precious time is. And he was trying to make the point to us that we should never waste time. And actually, one time, his servant at the time was Shruti Kirti, and I edited a couple of his books actually. But he said that one time Prabhupada finished chanting his rounds, and he put his bead bag down, and he said, mocking us and our mentality, he said, "Now I can do any damn thing I please." So he knew our mentality, you know, he didn't have much to work with some people like me. But you know, so he was making the point in this class that time is so precious. You know, if you wanted to buy one moment's time from someone for $1 million, there's nobody you could buy it from, because Krishna is time. So the biggest regret that I hear from devotees on their deathbed is, why did I waste so much time? And, you know, they bring up, I saw that movie, I watched TV, I went, you know, everything they've done, they start regretting. And why did I just hang out on the computer so much? Who cares about Facebook? Who cares who ate what for breakfast? I don't care. Now it doesn't matter to me. And so that seems to be a big regret. And the fear, like I said, a big one is fear of future pain from the disease. And also, where will they go? Where will they go? Am I going to have to take birth again? I don't want to take birth again. I'm not advanced enough to say, wherever you want me to go, Prabhupada, I'll go. If you want me to go to hell, I'll go to hell and distribute your books. I'm not there. I'm not there yet, and now I'm dying and I'll probably never get there in this life. But I don't want to, I just want to go back home. Prabhupada really stressed to us every class, practically, he would end every class with, and then you will go back home, back to Godhead. Just listen to the classes. That's how he usually ended it, So one time my god sister, Mula Pakriti, told me that she was walking behind Prabhupada in Los Angeles, excuse me, and she thought she was going to make him happy. So she said, Srila Prabhupada, I am prepared to take birth after birth just to serve you. And Prabhupada turned around and looked at her almost like in an angry mood, she said. And he said, never stop desiring to go back to Godhead.
That's a very important point.
Yeah, it's nice of you to be up here and be like, okay, if you want to send me to Patala Loka, I'll just give me a box of books, But I admit I'm not ever going to be on that platform. I mean, certainly not in this life, But devotees, this is what they talk about when I'm with them on their deathbed.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Kamala, Radha, did you have something you'd like to share?
I just wanted to say that, yes, there is definitely this point of time. And I know that there's the physical aspects of time, but one of the things that I've been hearing from people too is the time that they waste in their mind. Like, why was I so angry with this person for so long? Why couldn't I forgive them? Things like that. So of course, there's the physical aspect of watching a movie, or like I should have read more. But I've definitely heard people say, like, I wish I wasn't so angry. I wish I could have forgiven this person. So I just kind of wanted to add that to the scope of things as well.
And for those who think like that now, they have the insight to think of that about forgiveness. Mahatma Prabhu has a wonderful series on forgiveness on his website, and I highly recommend it. I'm about to take it for another time because it's something you can refresh yourself with every couple of years. It's very good. Yeah. So don't wait until you're on your deathbed to deal with your forgiveness issues, is my point. We have to work it out before we get there, okay?
Yes. Okay. Janaki, would you like to add anything? It's okay. We can move.
No, I think that this talk helps us to think of, like, what are the things that we ourselves are grappling with, or are struggling, they're keeping us from serving Krishna. And somebody said that going on Facebook these days is like looking at the obituary pages. And so it's really made us to have to reflect that this is a very temporary situation, and we need to take it seriously as soon as possible and address whatever it is that we need to personally address in our own lives to bring us closer to Krishna and service to Srila Prabhupada.
Well, this COVID-19 crisis has caused a lot of us to actually look at some of the things that we need to make changes in our lives and adjustments. So again, this topic is extremely timely and important. And so, Kamala, Radha, so many devotees are dealing with isolation. We're all dealing with it in some form or the other. Do you have any tips in dealing with isolation?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I first can think of is if you are grieving and you can reach out, please do. That's one of the reasons that we wanted to do this talk today. We offer grief talks and so many resources on our website and on our Facebook platform, but we really wanted to reach a wide audience right now, especially. We wanted to show that, we are here for you. We have our website that has tons of articles and resources for you. On Facebook, we offer a devotee grief online support group, which is closed and private so that you are able to reveal your heart in a safe space. Janaki and I are working on developing maybe an 8-week support group on a Zoom platform. And if there's any devotees that are wanting something more private, like maybe you're looking for a counselor, we will help assist you in finding someone too. So we are really just doing as much as we can for the community right now.
Okay. Mother Sangita, would you like to add anything?
No, I don't think so. But I do notice that even the website's getting a lot more mail during COVID. Devotees are reaching out more, whereas before they were reaching out to Facebook, but our Facebook page. But I am getting more mailings from the devotees on the website as well. So it says a lot that devotees are really needing this type of service in their lives.
Yes. And Vaishnava CARE, is it, it's worldwide, of course. Are all of the temples enlisted in the Vaishnava CARE? Or do we have representatives? Or?
No, but it was Krishna's mercy. When it rains, it pours. I had been invited to give a class on VBT Latin America. So now I'm working it out where I can give a weekend. Well, first we're going to meet and I'll talk with all the Mexico temples. And then we're going to figure out how I can give the seminar in 2 days on Zoom with them. And they'll have translator for me. So I'll be doing that. And then BBT Latin America wants me to come back again in September and discuss with the various temples there, how to do the same thing, how to do the seminar and have the translator with me. So that'll be a weekend seminar. So there's 2 in the works in that part of the world. And which would be good because they never heard of it. They never heard of this. And only when I did my research on end-of-life care in Latin America, what I found was maybe 2% of the population in those countries have access to pain management when they're dying. So it's for the very wealthy. And not for anyone else. In other words, I mean, this was the research I got when I was doing the before the talk I gave last week or so. So, they need the devotees there are really wanting to know what to do when a family member is dying or somebody in their congregation, because it's not like in America where you can just call up and have hospice come. It doesn't work like that. So they need to know what to do.
Okay. Mother, let's see. We have a question that's here.
Where is she from?
This is Induleka from Boston. Gotcha.
Okay.
Is it? Okay. She's asked a question, so let's see. What is your recommendation to create a nice atmosphere for the devotees who are going through some health issues? I feel that everyone heals better in a comfortable situation, so we can't just assign someone. It has to be someone that makes them feel very comfortable, and there has to be trust.
Yes.
So what are your recommendations to create a nice atmosphere for devotees who are going through some health issues?
You know, we were just talking about this on the seminar I gave, mostly for Toronto, but we had Alachua and Philadelphia devotees on there too. But this was just this past weekend. And what I was saying is that, you know, we really need to have warm, friendly, loving exchanges with the devotees all through life, because when they get older and they're having chronic illnesses, and then eventually we're all going to be facing the end of life. You know, if we haven't been very friendly and you know, have a nice exchange with the devotees all through life, you know, for the past 30 years, you've hardly ever said Hari Bol to this person. And then all of a sudden, you know, the person's really sick and elderly and possibly dying. I don't know about the devotee you're speaking of. I don't think she is. I think I know who you're talking about. But anyway, you know, we need to develop these relationships all through life, and then it makes it easier and more comfortable on both sides for you, the caregiver, and I know you have a lovely team there in Boston, and it makes it more comfortable for the patient, you know, the devotee that's being cared for. So let's build relationships now, early on in life, and then we can just kind of slip right into that caregiver role, right? So so that's one point. And everyone feels better. Yeah. So you have a team there. You have your Vaisnavas CARE team there. So if you know that the devotee that's needing help feels more comfortable with a certain, you know, a couple of devotees in the team, and maybe not as comfortable with others, then, you know, strategize and send the devotees that she knows more, right? Am I saying this so that it makes sense? You know, send those devotees to go be with her, and, you know, and so she's comfortable and you guys are comfortable. It's a good fit. It has to be a good fit. Makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. And I also was thinking, Sangita, that you know, the mood in general is so important. And, you know, Boston already has their Vaishnava CARE team, and that's great. But I think sometimes what is hard is people have to be a little diplomatic. I think that you and I have discussed this with other cases that have happened in the past. If there is a patient that only wants specific things and not, it is up to certain team members to be the advocates for her, to say, please, you know, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you want to. This is her wishes. And, you know, this is what she would like. You know, like, I appreciate that you want to see her. She is seeing these people right now. I appreciate that you want to play, you know, kirtan for her right now. She's very sensitive and needs light sound. We appreciate all that you're doing. So I think just clear, concise communication is always key.
Yeah. Thanks for adding that. Yeah, it's very important. You have to be her advocate. Okay, somebody has to take that role. So who's ever leading your team and is maybe just leading that group that's taking care of her right now, then that person needs to be the one to explain that. Okay. And nobody should take offense by it, because maybe the next devotee that needs help, they'll be the ones to go in there because they're more comfortable with that person or those people. Okay. So everybody will get their turn to be the favorite. Okay. Everybody will get their turn.
Okay. Thank you very much for your question, Indaleka. I don't know, Janaki, if you wanted to add something. I'm aware of the time and we're winding down. Is there anything that you wanted to share in regards to that question? Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Unmute.
Just adding that it's about them. It's about what their needs are. It's not about anybody else.
Yes.
And so just, honoring, respecting that, because this is their final journey. and their needs have to be met. Nobody else's needs are important at this time. It's that individual's needs, so that they can make this transition, which is very challenging and very difficult to do on its own. So not having a distracting environment, not having being pulled emotionally in different ways, but being very peaceful is key.
Mm-hmm. This person is not dying. He's not dying. He's recovering. So I just want you to know that. So, but in any case, we bring up the point. It's not about the caregivers. We're there to serve.
Okay.
So we shouldn't ever get upset, even though we do.
Okay.
We should never.
Again, I'm aware of the time again, but we would like you to please, in a few words, give your final remarks. Just in a few words, tell us what you would like us to take with us today, all of our listeners. What would you like us to take with us? We'll start with you, Sangita.
I knew you were going to say that. Okay. I would just say that it's Prabhupada's desire, and I have letters from him. It's his desire that every devotee be taken care of. He wrote that he said that he shed 30 tons of blood for every devotee he made, especially Americans and Europeans, and so he did so much sacrifice to make us all devotees, and he's still doing it because he's in the heart of his grand disciples as well. So all of us need to care for one another all through life, as I said before, and especially at the time of death, which is the most important time for a devotee. So I just want to say one thing real quick, that one time Vaisheshika Prabhu started his class out with Lord Buddha, an incarnation of Lord Krishna, said that if you take all the skeletons of all the bodies we've ever been in and you pile them one on top of the other, it would block the sun. So I just want to leave you with that thought that we have taken birth again and again and again, and we have died again, and again, but we just never get it right, or we wouldn't be here. Okay, we've never gotten it right. So with Vaishnavas CARE, we can make sure that as far as possible, if Krishna allows, that at least one devotee is there with you at the time of death. No devotee, unless he or she wants it, should ever die alone. And, I've only had one godbrother say that to me. I just want to die alone. Okay, that's his choice. But I've had many godbrothers cry in my seminars because they're afraid of dying alone. So if we can at all be that one person at the bedside of a dying devotee, Prabhupada would just shower his mercy on you. So please consider that and be good to one another all through life so that you can be there for somebody at the end.
Okay. Thank you. Care for the devotees. Kamala, Radha, and then Janaki, and then we'll be closing.
Thank you, Prabhu. I just wanted to end with telling everyone that is listening to this that your grief matters and your feelings matter. So many of us are grieving. We are grieving from losses and from death, and we are grieving from any sort of normalcy that we had felt before. We are grieving globally with this pandemic. People in America are grieving for lots of things. We are grieving because Black Lives Matter, and we are grieving from such complicated situations going on right now. And I just want everyone to know that your feelings are normal and your feelings are 100% valid, and that we are here for you, and please to reach out.
Okay. Thank you. And Janaki.
Yeah, I wanted to echo that following point. Please reach out. There are devotees that can assist and help you, and you can start at our website and we'll try to connect you. But please honor and respect your own journey and your own process in spiritual life, and get any assistance that you need to help you in your journey.
Thank you. So care for one another. Grief matters, and please know your resources and reach out. And these three wonderful devotees are here to serve, and we're most grateful for all the services that you offer through Vaishnavas CARE and all of your other services that you are engaged in. I see that Vaisnavas CARE, www.vaisnavascare.org is the website address. And then also, Kamala, Radha, you have the On Life Grief Support address. Okay.
You can find that. You can find that on the website and the Facebook page, but it is all there. Yes.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Sangita Devi Dasi, Janaki, and Kamala Radha Dasi.
Thank you, Ekavira Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Honor.
We also thank the GBC strategic planning team for giving us the opportunity to do this service today, and then also thank them for all the services that they're offering, not only during the COVID-19, but all of the services that they offer to ISKCON. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.